I don't think anybody can deny the impact of climate change anymore. There used to be a lot of time when I first got here, a lot of people said, oh, it's not a problem. Well, I don't know anybody, I shouldn't say that. I don't know anybody who honestly believes climate change is not a serious problem. Just take a look at the historic floods in Vermont and California earlier this year. Droughts and hurricanes that are growing more frequent and intense. Wildfires spreading a smoky haze for thousands of miles, worsening air quality. The record temperatures, and I mean record, are now affecting more than 100 million Americans. Puerto Rico reached a 125-degree heat index last month. San Antonio hit an all-time heat index high of 117 last month. Phoenix has been over 110 degrees for 27 straight days. And with El Nino and the short-term warming of the ocean, that exacerbates the effects of climate change, making forecasts even hotter in the coming months. Ocean temperatures near Miami are like stepping in a hot tub. They just topped 100 degrees, 100 degrees, and they're hitting record highs around the world. And that's more like, as I said, jumping in a hot tub than jumping in an ocean to ride a wave. Most people don't realize for years heat has been, I have to admit, I didn't know it either. I thought it, I knew it was tough, but the #1 weather-related killer is heat. The #1 weather-related killer is heat. 600 people die annually from its effects, more than from floods, hurricanes, and tornadoes in America combined. And even those places that are used to extreme heat have never seen it as hot as it is now for as long as it's been. Even those who deny that we're in the midst of a climate crisis can't deny the impact of extreme heat is having on Americans. Americans like an elderly woman in Phoenix who fell out of her wheelchair and after 5 minutes on the ground had third-degree burns. Third-degree burns. Or the firefighter who's already has lug over 45 pounds of gear through smoke and flame, which is incredibly hot. The job is even harder and more dangerous to do in record heat. For the farm workers who have to harvest crops in the dead of night to avoid the high temperatures, or farmers who risk losing everything they planted for the year, or the construction workers who literally risk their lives working all day in blazing heat, and in some places don't even have the right to take a water break. That's outrageous. That is outrageous. Anybody who says that, does that. Folks, we really want to pretend these things are normal? Experts say extreme heat is already costing America $100 billion a year and hits our most vulnerable the hardest, seniors, people experiencing homelessness who have nowhere to turn, disadvantaged communities that are the least able to recover from climate disasters. And it's threatening farms, fisheries, forests that so many families depend on to make a living. But none of this is inevitable. From day one of my administration, we've taken unprecedented action to combat the climate crisis that's causing this. We're using a law I got passed the first day in office, first month in office, called the American Rescue Plan, to help states and cities promote energy efficiency, reduce flooding, and open cooling centers. We're delivering over $20 billion from the bipartisan infrastructure law to upgrade the electric grid to withstand stronger storms and heat waves so we don't cause more fires. Look, last year I signed the Inflation Reduction Act, the most significant climate investment ever anywhere in the world. Meanwhile, FEMA has been on the ground responding to those unprecedented weather emergencies in real time. And I've traveled an awful lot in that helicopter with you all across the country. And to see the devastation that occurs, the kind of wildfires and drought and the like. We've launched a place you can go, heat.gov. Go online, heat.gov, to share life-saving information that you may need to know about. Last year, my Department of Labor created the first ever national program to protect workers from heat stress. Since then, we've conducted 2,600 heat-related inspections at workplaces nationwide to protect the health and safety of the workers on the job, so they're being taken care of. Today, I'm announcing additional steps to help states and cities deal with the consequences of extreme heat. First, I've asked Acting Labor Secretary Julie Su to issue a heat hazard alert. It clarifies that workers have federal heat-related protections We should be protecting workers from hazardous conditions, and we will. And those states where they do not, I'm going to be calling them out, where they refuse to protect these workers in this awful heat. Second, the Acting Secretary of Labor will work with her team to intensify enforcement, increasing inspections in high-risk industries like construction and agriculture. This work builds on the national standards the Labor Department is already developing for workforce and workplace heat safety rules. Meanwhile, the U.S. Forest Service will award more than $1 billion in grants to help cities and towns plant trees that in the long term will help repel the heat and expand access to green spaces so families have a place to go to cool off and to bring down the temperature in cities. The Department of Housing and Urban Development is providing billions to communities to make buildings more efficient and to make them more heat resistant, open cooling centers for residential areas and in the cities that the communities can go to be safe. The Department of Interior is using infrastructure funding to expand water storage capacity in the western states to deal with the impacts of future droughts that are made all this extreme heat more consequential. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is launching a new partnership with universities and impact communities to improve the nation's weather forecast and its accuracy, so Americans everywhere can be better prepared and they can better predict what the heat is going to be in that community with the weather. In all my Investing in America agenda, we provided a record $50 billion for climate resiliency to restore wetlands, manage wildfires, help Americans in every state withstand extreme heat. But our MAGA extremists in Congress are trying to undo all this progress. Not a single one of them, not a single Republican voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, which had all this money in it for climate, which provides funding to combat climate change. And now many of them are trying to repeal those provisions. We're not going to let that happen. Part of the reason we're here today is to get word out so state and local governments know these resources are available and uses them. We want the American people to know help is here, and we're going to make it available to anyone who needs it. Follow guidance from the local leaders and public safety officials when you hear it in your cities and towns and states. Stay indoors if you're vulnerable. Be careful on hot pavement. Know the signs of heat stroke like headache, nausea, dizziness. And always have water with you. That sounds silly, but always have a bottle of water with you when you're outside. Check on loved ones and neighbors who may not have air conditioning and check on them on a regular basis. Or go to the mall or community centers or movie theaters or libraries where there's air conditioning when you don't have that air conditioning at home. Take advantage of local cooling centers. Hundreds are being built. They're there for everyone and they save lives. It matters.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.